Hey, I'm Tom Healy from Madhousetv Studios. Hey, listen, we talk about so many times about what we do here at Madhousetv, our internet radio show, our TV shows, the series of shows we're doing, and then even recently the pay-per-view shows. But you know what, guys? Today, it's not about us. It's about you. Here at Madhousetv, we're going to give you the opportunity to do your own internet radio show on iTunes USA and also on iEntertainment Radio. And the best part about this, it's free. It's free today, it's free tomorrow, it's free next year. This is going to give you the opportunity to get your message out, the opportunity to grow your name, the opportunity to do what you've been dying to do for years. If you have what it takes to be part of this team, you need to give us a call at 631-669-7999. Start your new internet radio show today on some of the best equipment available for internet broadcasting. Over the 5 years that we've been in business, Madhousetv has made some name for itself. We've had Twitter, people from all over the world Twitter us and send us emails. Recently, Ron Howard, Michael J. Fox, Henry Winkler, and people like Donnie Most from Happy Days. They've been here. They've had the opportunity to be part of this event. Now, it's not going to stop here. It's going to continue to grow. So be part of this magnificent growth. Be part of the Madhousetv team. Be part of history. Give us a call today, 631-478-2793 or 631-669-7999. We'll see you on the air. Take care.
Welcome to AAU All Things Education. I'm your host, Verdell Jones. This show is dedicated to providing you concrete, relevant, timely information. How does a community begin to heal after tragedy within their community? How do you encourage people to get involved in their community and take action? And how do we begin the dialogue to get individuals and communities as well to become financially stable? These are some of the topics that we're going to be talking about this afternoon with our special guest, Cherie Darian. She's running for Senate in South Carolina, so we are very happy to have her here. And in the words of Maya Angelou, when you learn, teach, and when you get, give. So welcome to All About Education. Cherie Darian is a two-time appointed area commissioner of the governing board at the Technical College of the Low Country in South Carolina. Mrs. Cherie Darian is also an entrepreneur, an international bestseller, ordained minister, and a motivational speaker. In addition to volunteering for a variety of civic, community, and charitable causes, she recently announced her bid to run for South Carolina State Senate. This seat was vacated, unfortunately, by Clementa Pinckney, who was tragically killed in the Emmanuel AME Church in Charleston, South Carolina, back in June. We are absolutely delighted to have Cherie here with us this afternoon to discuss the topics that I had mentioned at the top of the show. So, Cherie, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Verdell. I appreciate you.
Thank you. And what is the one thing through our discussion today that you hope individuals will come away with?
Wow, this is our second chance. I've been saying since day one that South Carolina initials SC represents our second chance. It's unfortunate the circumstances that led to this,
right,
but I'm absolutely convinced that out of every tragedy there is triumph.
Definitely. Absolutely. So, you know what? We're going to jump right in because I want people to kind of get understand of where you've come from and what you're doing and how you plan to work within your community to make it a better place. So, I'm going to ask you, how do you go from being married to your high school sweetheart at the age of 17 to becoming an assistant vice president of a large, major bank, and on to be an entrepreneur and a purpose development coach, and now ultimately you're running for the Senate seat. Just take us through your journey. How did this come about?
Wow, that's certainly a mouthful. But listen, life has a funny way of unfolding itself.
Right.
And I've been very, very fortunate. I think all along the way, there have always been journey clues. And I'm very instinctive, if you will. I think most women are. But I always followed those journey clues. Right. I always was very aware. And I think that's one of the things that aided me in being, as the world deems successful. I being blessed or very fortunate. But that's certainly one of the reasons how I got to where I am today. You're right. Running down the halls of my high school, I ran into the arms of my husband, my now husband of more than 24 years. And that's the rest is history. But so Ed and I fell again in love before I graduated with my diploma.
Wow.
We were married. I had already given birth to one child who is now a second lieutenant in the Air Force.
Oh, congratulations.
And I was pregnant with twins.
Wow.
And so it's been amazing. And 2 years later, I had another daughter who was destiny, and that was the end of all. But, I've certainly been blessed, Verdell. Life has been life, and so it includes a lot of hardship. But my most proudest moment or greatest accomplishment, I love telling this story because most people look at your credentials,
right,
and think that you are, again, what the world deems as a success. It is my life hardship that's made Cherie who she is today. And so I brand myself and pride myself on having a PhD in second chances and 2 black belts in enduring and overcoming life hardships.
Great.
Because I've had them. It's not been cookie cutter by any means, but you overcome. And when life knocks you down, you get up. You don't quit. And that's the message that I bring to my constituents here in South Carolina, that even though this awesome event took place, look, we're going to get right back up again, right, and continue to be the leader that we are.
I love the phrase that you use, journey clues, and that there are journey clues that kind of lead you to where you're going, and you just have to make sure you have that discernment to know what it is you need to be doing. So I love that phrase that you mentioned. And going with the other thing with high school sweetheart, I can relate to that as well. I married my high school sweetheart too.
Oh, awesome! Yes.
So I can definitely relate.
We'll have to do a separate show about relationships.
Yeah,
I think the ladies would certainly love that.
Oh my goodness! Yes, you're absolutely right. And we're going on 27 years. So Thank you, and same to you. Same to you. So, you're an entrepreneur. That's one of the things that I had mentioned at the beginning when I was reading your bio. What type of entrepreneur are you? What are the things that you're doing as far as your business is concerned? And before we do that, I do want to also mention that Cherie she contributed to this amazing book. It's Amazing Wellness. And I would encourage everyone to pick it up. I've got it on Amazon.com. You can just go on there and Google that, or you can also put in Cherie Darian, her name, and it'll come right up. Amazing stories, a collection of woman's tips, I guess you can say. Everything from being the best you that you can be to health, beauty, and spirituality. And it's a great read, and I would encourage everyone to pick it up. So back to the being an entrepreneur. What does your business entail?
My business at this venture now, after leaving the bank, it's Darian Coaching and Consulting LLC. As you know, I'm a former, or now I say recovering corporate banker. And I use that term specifically and strategically because I kind of outgrew the system is what happened. And I'm probably going a little ahead of your questioning.
Right.
But I outgrew what some look at as a cookie cutter model. Okay? What worked for some doesn't necessarily work for all. And I outgrew that system. But at the same time, if you cut me, I still bleed green. Right. That was the logo or the branding for the company in which I was able to serve then. But now I left that bank to actually start a bank which is called a CDFI. We'll get into that a little bit more. But I opened a consulting firm, and the name of that firm is Darian Coaching and Consulting LLC, and it's twofold. Number one, it's financial education, aggressive financial education for those that need it most, those that are primarily left out of the financial mainstream, as well as personal coaching and development. I'm a transformational coach at heart, and so again, going back to that PhD and those 2 black belts, I believe, as you say, when you get gifts, and that is who I am. And so I am that unapologetic, unashamed, transparent, very approachable person that doesn't mind getting naked before people and telling her true, authentic story, the good, the bad, and the ugly, as Clint Eastwood says, so that people can let down their guards and just be themselves. But it's all purpose oriented. Right. You know, we're all here for purpose, and I'm here. I feel as my calling to help those around me to get into their purpose, and then also offer that hope of a second chance. Right. So that's what I'm doing with the business right now.
Awesome. That's great. Making that major leap from having a corporate job to going out and really fulfilling your destiny, to use your daughter's name, just going out there and taking that chance is a major accomplishment. And being an assistant vice president of a bank, what did it teach you about the banking industry in general? Because I know you said you outgrew it. So can you expand on that a little bit?
Absolutely. Now, I am indebted to the bank in which I left. Okay, so over more than 10 years, I had the ability to go from the bottom up, literally, from a part-time teller to the assistant vice president of a bank, all basically 5 minutes from my home. That's unheard of. So when I left, it was truly a leap of faith, but one, of course, that I was truly moved by and believed, obviously, or I would not have done it. But it was always for serving the people. It was always because of the greater good. Otherwise, Cherie and her household would have been fine. It was certainly a calling that I never knew that, look, today I'm interviewing with you on this show as I'm campaigning for a friend, mentor, and classmate vacant seat in the Senate. You know, life, again, has an amazing way of unfolding, but we have to be tuned in to what's going on with ourselves and everything that's around us. And so I know there's a bigger calling while we're here. But taking that leap certainly was a giant step. But I believe in leaving. This is probably one of the best lessons that I learned from that bank, was leaving an organization better than the way you find it. What I mean by that is succession planning. And it goes hand in hand with this opportunity, because it's amazing. On the Democratic ticket right now, there's 11 of us, and there were 2 Republicans. there's not, one of the Republicans actually withdrew, and so there still remains 11 Democrats and 1 Republican. Well, that speaks a lot to me, and I hope that from my candidacy and all of our candidacy, that going forward, we'll do better at building a bench. You look at every professional athletic team today, football, baseball, basketball, whatever, they have their greatest players. You know, so one of them get knocked down, there's someone right there to pick up and keep going. And so I look at this as a way of Senator Pinckney basically just passing the baton, and I'm ready. Like, you know, like David, who was, and I always go to the minister in me comes out too, along with the business side. But I always reference David being out in the tending to the sheep in the pasture, if you will, with sheep dung on his shoes. But he was ready. And I look at myself as being ready. Like when I took that leap of faith, I had no idea that today would come, but I was already ready. I was already groomed. I was already prepared. I was ready to pick up the baton and carry that torch to the end of my journey, you know, and then be able and be willing to do the same thing to whoever is coming up behind me. So when I felt that pull, Verdell, I actually prepared my team. And so I had just hired an assistant manager, and I taught him everything I knew. I had already had the rest of the staff in place, and I felt the pull, and I advocate for him to get my position. Who does that?
Right.
And he did.
Well, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, I would like you to kind of talk about the CDFI and what that is and how it can help individuals. So we'll be right back.
Stretching under sedation or manipulation under anesthesia is a very gentle, very precise procedure to very slowly release any scar tissue that is formed as a result of a traumatic injury. Many people ask, how does this work? Will I get hurt? Will you stretch me too far? We only stretch the body part to its normal range of motion. After completing the post-MUA rehabilitation program, it's very common that our patients say to us, hey, I can play ball with my kid again. Hey, I can bowl again. Hey, I can enjoy hiking again. This is what makes it rewarding to us as practitioners.
Galaxy Luxury Coach is a full-service limousine and party bus company. Family owned and operated, we are an industry leader with over 25 years of experience in providing best-in-class luxury transportation for your special event. Whether it's your precious wedding day, an all-day wine tour out east, your high school prom, that special birthday, or just an amazing night on the town, our professional chauffeurs stand ready to ensure your special event is truly special. Galaxy Luxury Coach has one of the largest and modern party bus fleets in the New York area. Our party buses are simply nightclubs on wheels. Concert sound systems, light shows, lasers and strobes, multicolor LED lighting brilliantly lights your party bus inside and out. For corporate and more laid-back events, we will cater to your specific needs and requests. What sets Galaxy aside from all others in the luxury transportation industry is our attention to detail in customizing our services to your special event. At Galaxy, it's all about you and your guests. Galaxy customers return time and time again because they know they can trust Galaxy to help deliver those lifetime memorable moments. Step aboard and let your Galaxy experience begin. Galaxy
Okay, welcome back. We're talking to Cherie Darian. She is running for Senate in South Carolina. We had just, Cherie was just explaining to us her her journey and her leap of faith to become an entrepreneur, and also to to actually run for this Senate seat that was unfortunately vacated because of the tragedy in South Carolina and Charleston. So we had mentioned briefly, or Cherie had mentioned briefly, about the CDFI. So a lot of people really don't know what the CDFI is, which is the Community Development Financial Institution. So can you explain what it actually is and how it can help individuals and communities?
Absolutely. That's probably one of the best kept secrets that the corporate world probably wish that I never saw.
I think you're right.
Yeah, because after being enlightened with that Spence movie that was, of course, narrated by Tyler Perry and American Express, that just kind of started my wheels just kind of rolling. And when you know better, you do better. At least you're supposed to. And I think that it's a book as well, not regurgitating the old over and over again, but to do something different, particularly when we have a roadmap to do so, or roadmap or an opportunity. That's not. But when I found that, regardless of what type of bank it is, they have an obligation to give back to the communities in which they actually choose to have a presence. I mean, brick and mortar buildings, a place of business. And that's called CRA, which is short for Community Reinvestment Act. Cool. Every bank, no matter where it is, they should be contributing back to every one of those communities. So that was one opportunity. The second opportunity was the CDFI that you just referenced, which is a Community Development Financial Institution. These institutions are to serve the financially underserved. In other words, the people that walk into the bank and they have credit issues, right, or other things. They could have a lack of financial acumen or just knowing how to speak financial language. Not understanding the fine or the red tape, the fine print, not even understanding their credit scores. To save, it's really simple. Simple financial education. If they don't have that, they're essentially left behind. Right. And then essentially they're denied when they go and apply for a loan. And so there's other opportunities. CDFIs create or allow for alternative financing. To get access in an alternative way to those folks that need it so much. And it also, what I love about it, which is another reason why I'm so fired up about it, is because it gives them another option instead of having to go to predatory lenders, such as these payday lenders, check into cash, you pawn your car title, you understand? Right. And unfortunately, when they do that, they are not really understanding what they're signing up for. And the interest rates that they end up paying in the end is much, much more, often 3 digits more than they originally anticipated. And so just shedding the light on that, my hands were tied, again, based on the audience in which I had. Now, granted, if I was in Atlanta or another thriving market, it would have been completely different because I would have been around high wealth or at least more middle-class individuals who could actually fit the bill. That was not my reality here. That wasn't what was walking through the door or the calls that we were making to reach out to continue to make the bank profitable. Now, there's 2 ways that a bank is profitable. It's in their deposits and it's in their loans. Well, you put your money in the bank is to use your money that you deposit in their bank and loan it back out. Unfortunately, the majority of the people in my community could not access the lending side because they did not fit the bill. Right. That's what I'm already in the process of changing. Not changing the way that traditional bank works, but to give them an opportunity or an option to have access. But it's a leg up. It's certainly not a handout. And I want to be clear in that because it's coupled with aggressive financial education as well. They're not just giving away money. And I don't want anyone to have that be misinformed by what I'm saying. It's just I know there is another way to get you educated enough so that you can get what you need now, but also create generational wealth. And that's huge.
Yeah. That a lot of times that becomes such an obstacle for individuals. It's that generational. You know, we were talking offline about, and you had mentioned just a minute ago, the payday loans, where individuals are, you know, they're already living paycheck to paycheck, but then they take out additional money, and by the time they try to pay that back, it seems that it's double to what they owe. So I think it's very important for people to kind of know that. But if people are struggling and they see no way out, how does the CDFI kind of help that situation? So I know we're going to talk a little bit about the movie Spent. You had mentioned it. Can the CDFI help in those situations?
Right. Right now, what it does is give them that opportunity. It's an alternative way to access capital, meaning money that they cannot currently get. In other words, if they walk in a traditional bank right now, it could even be a community bank. If their score doesn't meet, say, 620, they're denied. It's automatic. They may be able to, in most times, you know, during the times when tax returns, we always do, when it's the tax return season, people come in, they have their money direct deposited, and so they may do a secured loan. And what that basically means is they borrow against their own money.
Right.
Well, that's a win-win, because, you know, if you don't pay the bank back and you default, the bank has his money because it's in your savings account.
That's right.
But we'll loan money against your money. You understand?
Yes.
But most people do that to try to reestablish their credit and have a good payment history for at least 6 months to a year, but that's not enough.
Right.
They just, you know, how long does it take to form a habit?
21 days.
You know?
Right.
So you got to pay your bill on time for at least 21 months.
Right.
You understand? So if you're trying to do it for 6 months to a year, that's not enough.
Right. So, I mean, it's definitely information that, you know, individuals don't have. They don't have access to this information. How can people find out more about the CDFI? Not just in, you know, in your area, but, you know, throughout the country. Is this something that people can have access to throughout the country?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Number one, I would certainly encourage, and this is a free plug for Tyler Perry and American Express, to watch that Spent video, again, S-P-E-N-T, the Spent movie. Not just the trailer, but watch the movie itself. It's worth the while, you know, the time that they will take to do that. But if they could just go into their internet browser and type in CDFI, there is a myriad of information available. I'm currently partnering with other CDFI institutions, the Federal Reserve Bank of Atlanta, the FDIC, you know, everybody that I could possibly, as well as some partner businesses in California and now in Europe.
Wow.
So, I mean, the opportunity is endless. That's why I need to get this seat. I have to get this seat in order for this all to come to fruition, because it's just time. It's just time for change.
Right. Absolutely. We were talking about the Spent documentary. I think it's maybe 26 to 30 minutes long or something like that. It tells a story of 4 individuals and families and their struggles. It talks about those, you know, those payday loans. There's one woman in there who wants to have a business, and she's struggling because she can't really sustain and afford to get supplies that she needs. You know, I think as you said, Cherie, for people to actually sit and watch it, I think it would be very helpful. And I think when I was watching pieces of it, it felt like it was a movement. It felt like it was, you know, a way to open dialogue and to create an environment of, you know, a village to help, you know, everyone. So I'm glad that, you know, I heard you on another radio show, and I'm so happy that I did, you know, hear you speak about that, because I think it's something that I've never heard of it. And I think it came out maybe last year or so.
Yeah.
So it's definitely a film to watch. So thank you for sharing that information with us. And again, you can find that. I think it's on YouTube. You can find it on YouTube. Tyler Perry, he narrated it, so it's really really good. Now let's just talk. I'm going to keep in you know, the same conversation in reference to economics, so to speak. But You, on your website, you had a film that talks about the area which you will be representing in Jasper County. And it's kind of a tale of two cities, if you will. And that's like many of our communities. You have, you know, $1 million home on one side of the street. You go down a couple of blocks, and then you have people that are living, you know, at or below poverty. So South Carolina, or I should say Jasper County, where you would be representing, is that way. How do individuals and how do you or the government, the Senate, how do you work to kind of alleviate that disparity?
You know, District 45 speaks to that. Mm-hmm. If you look at certain parts of, pockets of District 45, you're going to see that. I am literally tucked in between Charleston, Hilton Head, Savannah. Uh-huh. You know, and I hear that, when I say that, people are like, oh my God, you know, you couldn't live anywhere else better, you know. But at the same time, if you drive off of 95, you're going to see Chat. Mm-hmm. You know, you're going to see that. And I've lived here all my life, so South Carolina is my home. Jasper County, born and raised. I'm not a transplant, but I've learned to embrace those that are, because no one wants to retire and move up north. They're to move that south.
You're right. You're right about that.
But essentially what we need to do is stop regurgitating the issue. Mm-hmm. Everybody speaks always, it doesn't matter if I'm in a board meeting, a business meeting, a church meeting, a family meeting. Everybody always speaks to the elephant in the room. Right. And so I've been enlightened, Verdell, to speak to the mouse in the room. Because that's all it takes to get the elephant out. Right. As small as it is, no one else is paying attention to it but the elephant. But there's a way to get him out of there. And so I'm speaking to the solutions in this campaign. And again, through my excellent rapport building skills with business partners and friends from around the world, again, West Coast as well as Europe, they are waiting, especially now that we are in the limelight. That's right. They want to help South Carolina. Right.
You know, we're going to take... Cherie, I'm sorry, we're going to take a quick break and go to commercial, and then I just want to pick that back up because it's really fascinating that you're having a lot of these voices come in to want to help South Carolina. So we're going to pick that up when we come back.
Okay.
After all the candles are blown out, after the last toast of the night, Cambridge paving stones with ArmorTech stand the test of time. Beautifully designed, built to last. Only Cambridge paving stones have ArmorTech, our unique process that produces a rich, distinctive color. Create your own memories with Cambridge paving stones. Visit CambridgePavers.com.
Cambridge paving stones with ArmorTech will always look like new.
What are you looking for? You don't even know that. Are you on the ball list? So you can't even answer. I'm asking you about it. You gotta be highly skilled. You gotta be highly skilled. You understand that?
Are you sick?
Are you well versed there? Are you a very smart man? Hit me with some funny shit.
My shit's twisted.
Tell me something.
What do you have right there?
That's awesome.
Well,
that's a big.
That's nice.
You know damn well.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Sir. Hey, are you interested in twisted talent?
Yes, I am. Sure. See, you got twisted.
That's twisted. That's talent.
You see what I'm saying? You understand me? And if you can't whip out answers like that, that man is liable to door to commercial break, punch your fucking mouth loose. You understand me? Time is up, sir. You understand me? You're on. You're the man. All right, give me your name now. I'm sorry.
My name is Willie.
Willie, where you working at?
We are twisted. We are awesome. Awesome. Love it.
Can you repeat that question again?
Okay, welcome back. We're talking to Cherie Doreen. I'm sorry. We're talking to Cherie Darian. She's running for Senate in South Carolina. And before we left, we were just talking about, the disparity within the, the area that she will be hopefully representing. And one of the things that we were talking about is the partnerships that she has been able to develop with a lot of different states and even abroad, and how the attention is being brought to South Carolina and people want to see how they can help. One of the things that I thought was very interesting that we were just talking offline about was how the focus is on the cities, but the rural areas of our nation are being neglected. Cherie, if you can kind of speak to that a little bit.
Absolutely. Just last year, I attended a conference in Greenville. Greenville, South Carolina is upstate South Carolina. Where I reside, and District 45, where I represent now, is the southern part of the state. Most of the funding stays upstate. And so one of my strategies in this campaign is rebranding 101 so that people really know the real Low Country. There is an awful stigma as this area being known as the corridor of shame. The reason for that, it involves education. Our education system has had its hiccups, but it's not one bad apple spoil the bunch. Many times that's how we're seen in the public eye, but it's not necessarily so. Otherwise, we would have never had a Clemente Pinckney. Right. We would have never had a Cherie Darian, and the likes of us. There is so many of us that I wouldn't do us justice to call any names today. And the talent that follows us, our children, our children's children, it's amazing the talent that we have here in this area. So we have to start telling our own story much better. Right. And I mentioned that conference because last year, it came to my attention that most of the focus is on the urban areas or the needs of the urban areas and not so much so of the rural areas. And so it's shame on us, quite honestly, because we haven't told our own story as best as we should. And so that is one of my main strategies. They're going to know, especially now that we have the spotlight on us, and we're going to let them know. And they're willing to wrap their arms around us. I mean, really, I'm all about love and partnering. So we're linking up. And we're going to do this. We're going to make it, we're going to be the global leaders in economic growth.
That is fabulous. And I think it makes so much sense that you have to tell that story. You know, being in rural areas, people just don't know. The focus is always on those urban areas and the disparity that may be there. But in the rural areas, we don't get that, or we don't have that attention. So I'm happy to hear that you are getting that attention and you are getting people who are saying, hey, what can we do? How can we help? And that's the perfect way to go about, forging on with your campaign. So congratulations in that respect. Definitely. Definitely. And, with all your, experience in economics, and it's clear that, you really understand what the economic issues are in the, in the area that you serve. And they're very fortunate to have someone like you who actually has been able to reach out, to make those connections, to hopefully, better the area in which you live. So again, congratulations. That's phenomenal. So I want to kind of focus on healing, the healing process. At the top of the show, we talked about how a community heals after a devastating tragedy. How do you guys start to heal? How does any community start to heal when something so devastating as the shooting that took place in the Emmanuel AME Church and that killed 9 people as they worshiped? How do you begin to heal from that process, from that tragedy?
But I'm going to always go back to rebranding. Like, who are we for real? What is the real Low Country all about? We are resilient. You understand? We are tenacious. We're a fortified state, country, community. you know, we are the real deal, and it's essentially what do you do when tragedy comes? You do the best that you can. Now, grieving is certainly essential,
Right.
and so I mean, really, we wouldn't be who we are, wouldn't be a people of compassion as well, because it's all about true Southern hospitality. But we know how to pull up our bootstraps and get the job done.
Right.
We really know how to do that, and that's what we're made of. And so, you know, we always going to extract the good, not just see the good in it, but be the good. And I think when I think a lot of people was looking at the opportunity to riot, you know, to fight for more shootings, for more deaths possibly, hate war as it's been deemed in the media. None of that took place.
Yeah.
So we have already proven that we know how to take care of business.
That's
and
right.
we know how to link arms, to unify, how community is supposed to really behave.
That's
so I'm so proud.
Yeah.
I'm so proud of South Carolina.
Right.
South Carolina is the great state. And so that's what we attract. We can't help but the love of the people that are really, and the other businesses that are wanting to come to this area now.
That's great.
Because we already proven our worth.
Right. That's
and I want them to understand their worth.
Right.
I'm all about that, Verdell.
Right.
We are awesome.
You know, and that's so, and that brings up such a great point. In the face of tragedy, the dignity that was portrayed within the state of South Carolina and Charleston and you know, in that whole area was definitely something to be seen. And so that does speak to, you know, what type of community that, you know, that you're in.
Yeah, it speaks to Martin Luther King's quote, and I'm paraphrasing. You know, the character of the content of someone's character is not really seen in times of comfort, but rather in times of struggle or trials.
Right.
And we've proven that.
Right. So what kind of inspired you, or what motivated you to make the decision to want to run for Senate in South Carolina?
It was Senator Pinckney. It honestly, at the end of the day, just 2 months ago, maybe a little bit longer now, I can't keep up, but I sat across from him with 2 business partners discussing the emerging CDFI that we're forming, Second Chance Community Bank. And fast forward to the night that this all took place, and I was looking in my cell phone on Facebook and thinking, pitch me, this isn't happening. And then you turn on the TV, and then there it is. And in the pit of my stomach, I knew he was gone. Verdell, I picked up my phone and I sent him a text message. Of course, I did not get a text back.
Oh, boy.
You understand? So, I mean, again, I'm like, okay, what do I do? So immediately I went in prayer, because that's how I decide, especially something as major as that, even the transition with leaving the bank. Wow. And I felt it really, really heavy. And then the confirmation started coming. Honestly, people from out of the blue just started coming to me. And so, of course, I discussed it with my family, because this is not just a Cherie choice. This affects my entire family. And so I went to them, and they said, go for it, Mom, go. And so they were behind me and have been since day one. And not just my household, I mean, my entire family. They're all around. They embraced us all. My husband's side of his family, my family, it's just been amazing. And so, and even the community at large. And so I made that decision to just go for it. So Senator Pinckney service, certainly, but my motive is so simple. It is, in one word, it is service. I just want to continue to serve the people here. That's it. And many people have asked me, like, why did you stay? You know, you have so many opportunities. You don't have to stay here to Gettysburg County. And a lot of the children, when they get their degree, unfortunately, right now, there's not any appealing opportunities for them to stay. And so they go to other areas, such as Atlanta. You know, the ATL. It's enlightening, it's engaging, it's attractive. Right. And so they want to go there where it's moving, and they have a social life as well as a professional life. And you can't blame them for that, because we live in the 21st century now. We're in a digital world. The world has already shifted. We were just one of the last ones, really, to shift. But I'm going to do everything in my power to make sure that that shift occurs here, but not just shift, that we become a global leader.
Right, right, absolutely. So you became an ordained minister at the age of 33, and how does your spiritual life kind of help you with, your community outreach and also running for this position?
It's my stabilizer.
Mm-hmm.
It honestly is. It is. And in fact, the window for this campaign has been so small. The time frame in which to run, it's just been wow. It all happened so fast. It's like you really didn't have much time to consider. So, I could go on a 30-day fast and say, I'm going to do this. It wasn't working.
That's right.
I had to be very decisive and then just go for it, almost essentially another leap of faith. But I did, and so I just had to be ready. But, it's been amazing, the help that comes from so many different areas, the funding that comes, as far as sponsorship to do this. It's been unbelievable as well. It's just been, it's a God thing. I'm going to say that, and those that have faith or any spiritual relationship with a higher being than themselves would understand and appreciate that. But this is not anything that I could have orchestrated. There is someone much greater than me at work.
Cherie, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, I really want to kind of talk about our young people and how they can be involved. So we'll be right back in a moment. Thank you.
Yo, what's up, y'all? This is me, GMC, in the place to be, the greatest MC in history. There will never be an MC greater than me. And right about now, the only place for you to be is with the one and only Madhousetv TV. You are the man.
For professional motorcycle transport and towing, think Kickstart Fabrications Motorcycle Towing. Proudly serving all of Long Island, we feature expert handling and 24/7 service. So send a limo for your toy with Kickstart Fabrications Motorcycle Towing.
Welcome to the Rehab Center located at 2025 Brentwood Road in Brentwood, New York. At the center we offer chiropractic services, acupuncture, and physical therapy. We take most major medical, no-fault, and workers' comp insurance. If you need these types of services, contact the offices at 631-234-4949. That's 631-234-4949. Welcome.
Okay, welcome back. We're talking to Cherie Darian. She's running for Senate in South Carolina. And we were just talking about, her spirituality and how that kind of drives, her steps. It's a God thing. I think you used that phrase. So I wanted to talk about the importance of voting at the local and the state level. Why is it important for individuals to get out there and vote? I mean, you always hear that, but why would you say that's important?
It's very important because decisions are being made on your behalf, whether you are involved or not. I can remember years ago going to the polls, and there may have been an amendment item listed and not recognizing any of the names on there. Yet we put a name just so we can complete the ballot and get out of there. There's a line forming.
Right.
So we don't need to do that. Otherwise, when the blind leads the blind, they both fall in the ditch type thing. So are we really concerned about our future, not just ourselves, but those that come behind us as well? Or do we just want to continue to, and this is a Southern phrase, fuss and cuss? We want to argue. We want to scream and holler about things, but we don't want to do anything. And my plea to this generation is, don't remain stagnant. Get involved. It does matter. Your voice does matter. And I've been most impressed, and I have to share this. I shared this with Shavana. I have been most impressed with our young people because they are well engaged. They are well informed. They are counting the cost. of having to go to school and have this debt waiting when they get out before they actually have a job. You know, so they're concerned and they don't want to repeat the status quo. And if they're going to be the ones that bring about the change, they really are. And so if I have hope in anyone going to the polls on September 1, I have hope in that generation.
Right, right. And, you know, a lot of times I don't know, with politics and especially at the national level, you hear so much negative, you know, the negative media attention around it. And I think some young people they might become disengaged because of that negative, you know, message that's out there. So what would you say to young people in reference to politics specifically, and how they have to, and how to navigate that?
Honestly, they're resilient. You know, children are resilient. You can, like the children, Senator Pinckney's children, you talk about a model to follow after. The way they handled that was just, it's incredible. It's inspirational. And I lift my hat to both Senator Pinckney as their father, as well as Jennifer, their mom, of how they have raised them. But I have no doubt in our youth. I really don't. And I have youth of my own. They are amazing. I don't think we give them enough credit, quite honestly. So if anything, we need to start informing them earlier. And what I mean by earlier is whatever grade that they're currently getting introduced to politics, we need to start that earlier. And I wouldn't wait, because, I mean, I can give my granddaughter my cell phone, and she can operate it. She knows functions on that phone that I do not. These children are brilliant. They are absolutely brilliant, which is why I work so hard to create opportunities for them, because I would hate for any of them, Vernell, to get in a cubicle somewhere just to survive, just to pay their light bill or phone bill or mortgage, when they could have the cure for cancer. So I really get fired up about the youth, because I believe in them so strongly. And I don't think they're our problem. In fact, I spoke to someone today about coming in and speaking to an audience that was going to be held tonight. And a lot of the older generation is now disenfranchised. They don't even want to deal with politics. And that's not because of our young people. That's because of our current and past leadership.
Yeah. And you know, that's key to you know, to mention. Our young people, you had mentioned this just a minute ago, they're very, very informed. And I know they are more informed than I was at their age. And I don't know if it's a matter of having access to a lot of different things, but they really are informed, and I think they are engaged. And I think you're absolutely right. It's not the youth, it's the old regime, so to speak, that have the bickering and the infighting and all of that. So we do need to continually, I think, encourage our children to, you know, to stay involved and to, you know, and to continue that passion. How would you encourage young people to actually get involved? Like, what can they actually do? Some concrete things that they can do to be engaged at the community level, at the political level. What can they do?
Well, firstly, every community has civic organizations, like your Rotary Club. They can certainly get involved in that. You have community organizations such as your Boys and Girls Club or your YMCA. That's all service. Community service is where it begins truly for a young person. And then there's board appointments, such as what I have the opportunity to do. That one board appointment has now springed, I don't know how many board appointments, everything from the Chamber of Commerce to Jasper Community Fund, which is a philanthropic organization, charitable organization certainly, to the hospital board. You know, I've had a conversation about that. And then most recently, I've been a nominee for the Consumer Plan Health Board as well, which is essentially affordable health care. And so it just springboards to so many other opportunities. And of course, you want to be rightly aligned with your passion. So I would just ask them to do that.
Right. And to, you know, I like to say that for, you know, for the parents listening out there, that I'm my child's agent. A lot of times you won't have students or children, I should say, you know, going out to find these opportunities. But once you give them the opportunity, it's their responsibility to follow it through. So that's why I say I'm my child's agent. I find them the opportunity. I say, here, you need to do this. And then they just run with it. So I think parents, you know, also need to realize that they are their child's agent. A lot of children don't have that motivation to find, you know, things out or to find opportunities, but parents can definitely take a role in finding it for them and then passing it on to them for them to do the work.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So there's been so much national attention, you know, focused on South Carolina, you know, from the tragedy at Emmanuel AME to, you know, the which resulted in, well, I think it was, you know, the breaking point for the Confederate flag to be removed from the state capitol. With all this attention that it's brought to South Carolina, what is your hope for South Carolina and our nation as a whole?
That we will heal collectively, honestly, that we will heal collectively, that we will put down our weapons. And weapons isn't always a gun. Sometimes it can be our words. Sometimes it's our prejudices.
Yeah.
It's a number of different things. Judgment. You know, we as people, first of all, have to realize that we are that. We are human beings.
Right.
It doesn't matter what the pigment of my skin is. It doesn't even matter what my intelligence, my intellect is. It matters that I'm a human being first and that I have a soul first. You know, that's what it really boils down to. When I transitioned from the bank last year, 6 weeks into that transition, my mom was diagnosed with 2 forms of cancer. There was a lot of transitioning going on in my life at the time, but nothing else mattered but being there with my mom.
Right.
And I think I know everyone has a mom, so everybody should at least be able to relate to that. You know, whether or not they have a good relationship with that person or not, if you did not have a mom, you would not be here on earth, period. Just period.
Right.
And so that's the humanitarian side of me that often comes out, which helps with my connection and my ability to network and build rapport with people. And what the beauty of it is that it works on both sides of the aisle. Right. So essentially, I just want to be the bridge to communicate and reach both sides.
Right.
So, I mean, we just need to heal. We need to heal as humans.
Right, right. And it's, you know, we all have those universal stories or those themes that run through, you know, all of us, like that connection, like you said, with your mother. It's, you know, everyone or most of us have that, you know, that sense of that connection. And I think those are the things that will hopefully bring, you know, ultimately bring us together. We have a few minutes left, a couple minutes left. Before we, you know, wrap up this afternoon, is there anything that you would like to let, you know, the election is September 1st in South Carolina. It's fastly approaching. Is there anything that you would like to say to anybody that, you know, might be in your area that's looking to cast their vote for, you know, for this position? What would you say to them?
I would say, you know, if we stay ready, we won't have to worry about getting ready. And so far, we have been behind the 8 ball. This is our opportunity to again stand tall, hold our heads up high, and be the great state of South Carolina that we know we are. And the only way we can do that is if, number one, we acknowledge the elephant in the room, but not just the elephant or the glass half empty or even half full, but the fact that it can be refilled. And let's move forward. A very progressive South Carolina, very productive South Carolina, a very preservative South Carolina. And when I speak to that, I'm speaking to the economy. and making sure that some of the things that are being experienced right now with climate control. I just saw today where President Obama is planning a trip to Alaska to deal with some of that. You know, there is nothing new under the sun. So what is happening already in another area is eventually going to happen here. We need to stay abreast. We need to be proactive, not reactive, which is why I say we need to stay ready and not worry about catching up. And I think, again, it's all about leadership. It stems with leadership. And if we continue to elect the same types of leaders that we have, we're going to ultimately receive the same type of leadership, which means the same type of problems that we have today. It's time for change. I am that change. Nice. And I look forward to being the senator, next senator of District 45, and honoring Clemente Pinckney and continue to serve the great people of South Carolina. It is my privilege and my honor, but most of all, I feel called to it.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, I would like to thank Cherie Darian for, speaking with us today. We wish her well on her quest to gain that Senate seat in South Carolina. But before we leave, I would also like to make sure that we thank our sponsors of AAU Teen Talk TV, Roger and Shavonna Johnson. They are the founders of the Whitney E. Johnson Foundation, and they're also the executive producers of this show. So we would like to thank them. Again, we would like to thank Cherie Darian for joining us this evening. Make sure that you tune in on Mondays. Every Monday we have our radio show. This Monday coming up, we have Corey Piggy's Live, so make sure you stay tuned for that. And then I'll be on the following week with Conversations with Deli. So again, I'd like to thank you for joining us this afternoon, and you all have a great, great evening. Thank you.